Okay, to the U.S. now. In just hours after making history as the first former president to be indicted, Donald Trump railed against the Manhattan district attorney and judge in his case. He continues to cast the prosecution as politically motivated.
Virtually everybody that has looked at this case, including rhinos and even hardcore Democrats, say there is no crime and that it should never have been brought.
My next guest is warning of the dangers this indictment poses for the United States. Frank Luntz is a longtime pollster and political strategist. He is in Washington. You've said, sir, that the prosecution of Donald Trump is bad for American democracy. Why do you say that? What's at stake here?
Well, the problem is, let's say he gets off. That will justify everything that he has said and everything that he's done. Let's say he's convicted. It just means his people will take to the street. He's already threatened protests. His situation is worse than my voice, and my voice will be better in the next week, and his situation will not. I am concerned about the body politic. I'm concerned about our ability to listen to each other, learn from each other, appreciate each other. And Donald Trump is truly unhinged at this point. And I am concerned about the consequences to the American political process.
In the short term, how do you think maybe public opinion will be shaped by what was actually in the indictment and what we saw unfold in Manhattan on Tuesday?
I don't think the indictment will have any impact other than Donald Trump is going higher and higher among Republicans. This is one of these rally around the flag situations. They see one of their own getting attacked. They support him. His numbers have gone up 5 to 7 points in almost every survey. His favorability has gone up. The preference for him as the Republican nominee has gone up, and his opponents have gone down. And we've already seen this. It was happening even before the actual indictment. The problem is, I don't think the details matter. I don't think the facts matter. And that is what is particularly alarming at this point. The more that people learn will not change their point of view. And that's something that we have to be aware of on both sides of the North American border.
So you say that the facts don't matter. Do you mean that strictly in this case of the hush money and the forging of business documents and all of that, sort of those allegations? Or would that also apply if charges come for, say, what he's accused of doing with the Georgia election for January 6th or the document handling? Could that change things?
I've had a long history with being very blunt on this broadcast.
Yep.
And I need to do it again. So many people, most people have made up their minds whether he's innocent or guilty. And it doesn't matter whether it's Mar-a-Lago and the raid, or whether it's taxes in New York or payoffs. It doesn't matter if it's the 2020 election in Georgia. You have a segment of about 30% of America, which is a majority of the Republican Party, who is going to believe that he's innocent no matter what is shown, no matter what is said. And that's why I say the facts don't matter. Of course they do. Of course they're essential. But for tens of millions of people, no matter what you show them, what you tell them, the evidence itself, it will not have an impact on what they view Donald Trump, and will not have an impact. And what we know now is that it is very likely that he will be on trial in Iowa, in New Hampshire, that the trials will be happening while the primary campaign is ongoing. And I can't think of a worse situation for the American electoral process than that.
Yeah, I think you're dead right in your analysis that it doesn't matter for millions of Americans, especially inside the Republican Party. But, you know, one of the reasons, as I understand it, why Joe Biden won is a lot of moderates and independents kind of just, they went big time to the Democrats. So this doesn't hurt him with the Republican nomination. But is this the sort of thing that could stop him from getting back to that winning condition he had in 2016, where he needs to win over swing voters?
Not only could it, it's happening. The people on the left consider him an enemy of American democracy. And those in the center, those essential swing voters, are now more negative towards him than they've ever been. So the reason why his numbers have gone up is that every Republican has backed him. He becomes extremely likely to win the Republican nomination, which I did not think 100 days ago. But he becomes an absolute sure thing to lose the general election, and he's going to sink the Republican Party with him. And what I'm watching carefully is to see how House Republicans and Senate Republicans, how they treat this. Over the last 48 hours, the entire party has wrapped themselves around the ex-president, endorsed him, supported him, criticized the investigation, criticized the indictment, complain about not just the polarization of American politics, but the politicalization of our legal system. That's just the beginning. This is only in the first 48 hours. What happens if more indictments come? What happens when the actual trial begins? We don't know how far we can fall. We don't know how deep we can sink. But this is serious. This is uncharted territory. And you have every right to be focused on this, because I don't want to see another January 6th. I was on your air on January 6th, and I never forgot that interview, because I never forgot that day. And God knows I don't want it to happen again.
You know, I wonder the control his supporters have over the grassroots of the party, right? In the primary process and the candidate selection process. Is there a tipping point where the leadership of the party can break away from that? You know, if January 6th does lead to an indictment, if Georgia does lead to an indictment, you may never convince the rank and file MAGA hat wearing Trump supporters, but is there a fracture point for the leadership that you see, Mr. Luntz?
I don't necessarily believe that they will ever abandon him. Now, there's a difference in how Speaker McCarthy and how Republican leader McConnell have handled Donald Trump. McConnell's been much more openly hostile to him. And McConnell talks about accountability. Speaker McCarthy is much more careful with his words and his strategies. But in the end, I don't believe that Washington's going to have an impact on this. Because if they come out against the former president, they're just part of the swamp. They're just part of the process. They're just part of the system. And Trump people have been taught since 2015 to hate the system. So if someone who's an elected official says enough, a Trump voter just assumes that they're part of the problem, not part of the solution.
Frank Luntz, we appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us today.
I hope it'll be on happier occasions.
All right, we'll have you back. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.